Welcome to another installment of This Is Not Normal on the Political Drain podcast with Drill Sergeant Doug, aka Admin Doug, a U.S. Army veteran, teacher, musician, and family man from Jamaica, now fights for justice and democracy through commentary and humor. Follow him on YouTube at Political Drain and at Sons of Liberty Official as Drill Sergeant, aka Admin Doug, continues to protect our freedoms.
Donald Trump is planning on using Navy warships off the coast of San Diego in the Pacific Ocean to launch missiles into California.
This is a test. Well, this was a test. What's up, YouTube? Drill Sergeant here. And yeah, you heard that correctly. Before we get started, don't forget that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, and that he's also a PDO file, and that he's also this far away from pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell, who is a accused and convicted child abuser. And this story will not distract us from that fact, but what you heard was correct. Earlier today or yesterday, this orange maniac tyrant, this tangerine tyrant, Mussolini of Mar-a-Lago, said that he was going to just have missiles over the I-5. I don't live in California, but I'm assuming that if it's a major highway, seeing how the traffic is out there, we're talking about millions. Shut it down so that he could do missiles into America. And this is a test. You see, that was to scare us. That's to make sure that he can keep his jackboot on the necks of America. That is what a narcissist abuser does when he thinks that his wife is getting too uppity, when he thinks that his slave is getting too uppity. Let me just remind you what I'm willing to do. But he's also a coward. He's a coward. He won't stand up to people who are his height, his weight, or his own gender, or his own class. What he will do is try to crush people who he thinks are beneath him. But like every narcissistic abuser, it started with projection.
But it's not making Russia look good, I will tell you that.
Really? Tomahawks like Ukraine?
We'll be talking about Ukraine, yeah. I mean, I have the president coming in on Friday, and I know what he has to say. He wants weapons. He would like to have tomahawks. Everyone else wants tomahawks. And we have a lot of tomahawks. Tomahawk is do you need any tomahawks in Argentina?
You can cross Moscow, tomahawks.
You need them for your opposition, I guess, because see, in this country, they'd use tomahawks for the opposition. I don't do that. I'm much nicer. The Democrats would use them if they had the chance. They're sick people. Go ahead.
Boom. Step one, project what you've already feel, so that you can already have the excuse to do it. You see, he says they're gonna steal the election, so he steals the election. Don't let them poison the minds of the kids, so you get rid of the history book and poison the minds of the kids. This is what they do, and this is what he does. He put that out there because he knew, let me just see how far it'll go, and when I get called on it, I can just say, I know that they're going to do it, and all of my sycophants, my red hat idiots that walk around with their knuckles dragging on the concrete from the mountain of which they came, will say, I know Democrats will do it. They're all violent and can't find one example. Step two, let me just test it. Just like those people who jumped out the black car and black SUVs in Portland that we reported about. This is just a test. They all jumped out, stopped traffic. What will you do? And then we'll spray the whole of the little blow-up frog that you're wearing. This is a test. What will you accept? And the more people that show up, the more they realize, okay, we can't go that far. But the minute you don't, that's the point. That's the point. They only have one option. They're not smart. They're not well-read. They're not creative. They can't dance. What they do is threaten and use violence. Threaten and attack. Threaten and attack. And if you were thinking about not going to your local protest on the 18th because they were going to shut down the highway on purpose, and then talked about using missiles on purpose after already projecting that, then you know now that that is exactly what they were looking for as an answer to this test. But instead, just like the Portland test, You sprayed one frog, 5 showed up. And now they're doing nothing. They're just there. They're trying to arrest people in giraffe suits. Fine, but more show up. You tell them what you will allow, because this is just a test. Don't let it scare you. It's fearmongering. As soon as Gavin Newsom, well, let's see what Gavin Newsom said in response, because he realizes that it's a test.
Newsom responded to our reporting. It says, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance think that shutting down the I-5 to shoot out missiles from ships is how you respect the military. Put aside your vanity parade and pay our troops instead. Governor Newsom's press account writes, this would be an absurd show of force and totally uncalled for during a government shutdown when members of the military cannot even get a paycheck.
And like every high school or schoolyard bully that spray paints his face at school to hide the pain that he feels at home because his wife doesn't touch him anymore. I'm sorry, we're talking about bullies or Trump. The point is, it was a test, and you passed.
Well, we'll see what actually takes place. We were under the understanding they were going to close I-5, up to 80,000 vehicles on Friday, tomorrow, and Saturday. And then they seem to have backed off on that. They were going to move forward with a display, doing something, but they're not clearly sharing that with state officials. It was foundational and fundamental that we needed to be part of that if we were going to shut down the freeway and make sure it was done in an appropriate manner. But it appears, as I said, they've backed off.
This is the point. The truth is, the reason why this No Kings rally will do more than the last one is because the only person who ever reported it on national TV was Rachel Maddow. And if they would have just kept their mouth shut, that would be what happened again, because our feckless news media refuses to televise the resistance, refuses to televise the revolution. Ground news has very quickly become one of my most prized resources, my go-to even, because I get to find out what stories are not covered by the blind spot feature, which I love, but not just the blind spot feature. Any of the stories that I bring up, I can see what either side is saying about it. I can also see who's paying for those headlines. It tells me who owns the publication, which also lets me know who they're writing it for. Many times, none of that is for us, but understanding the context helps us understand the story. Ground news is absolutely one of, if not the best way to know that you've gotten every side of a story and that there's not enough spin in the world that can have you misinterpret it.
So you remember what it looked like in San Diego, tens of thousands of people, 30, 50,000 people, maybe more, showed up at the last No Kings protest that took place there. You remember how big the crowds were in San Diego.
Instead, these little prick, nasty boys, these feckless weirdos, these fake men, these fake misogynistic, fake toxic masculinity, but on the inside squishy like fucking grapes. Men in the Republican Party are so scared of the numbers that you're going to bring on the 18th. They're the ones who are going to make sure that now it will be televised. Because Mike Little Johnson goes out there and says, oh, this is they're going to be going crazy. It's the anti-American protest. I'm so livid. The only thing you're livid about is that your black son that nobody's ever heard of and can't find anymore doesn't share his porn with you like the other one does. That's what you're livid about. The truth is, Mike Johnson, you just now gave everyone in the media who wasn't going to cover it, because they too are feckless, the reason that they have to.
I encourage you to watch. We call it the Hate America rally that'll happen Saturday. Let's see who shows up for that. I bet you see pro-Hamas supporters. I bet you see Antifa types. I bet you see the Marxists in full display, the people who don't want to stand and defend the foundational truths of this republic.
You know, this crazy No Kings rally this weekend, which is going to be the farthest left, the hardest core, the most unhinged in the Democratic Party, which is, a big title. And, no kings equal no paychecks. No kings equal no paychecks.
Clearly, the Democrat Party of today is not your grandfather's Democrat Party. They care about one thing and one thing only, appeasing the radical pro-terrorist wing of their party.
You know, the same crowd planning to protest at their I Hate America rally this weekend.
Well, one of the things that I hope Cass Patel and Pam Bondi are looking into is, the funding of these groups. Who pays for the buses to bus a lot of these folks in? Who pays for the trucks that have riot gear that they hand out to the peaceful protesters?
That's why we have to be there, because this one's going to be bigger than the last one. But the more important part is this one's going to get covered because they failed the test. You passed the test. You passed it. That's the point of this message. You passed the test. They will continue to fearmonger. They will continue to threaten what they can and can't do. They'll arrest one or two. They'll throw rubber bullets here and there. And the more show up, the more they realize the reason why they're scared, they're shitting their pants and peeing their pants on Capitol Hill is because they know they don't have the numbers. That's the fact. You guys like my new hat? You can get it. I finally got it ordered. Came in. Also the new shirt. It says here, a true alpha male don't need no daddy. Well, the sycophants that follow this narcissistic abuser, they love their daddy, but they have no balls. They have guns and pepper spray. They don't have the numbers. Tomorrow we fight. And on the 18th, we show up and we fight again. You don't threaten us. This is a test. You failed. MAGA. Hey, yeah, you. Before you click away to watch someone unbox a tactical toothbrush, let's talk about something real. Political Drain isn't just another content mill. We're a digital front in a very real war. Not with bullets, but with ideas, with action, and with solidarity. We pair urgent news with critical education. And we build community around actual resistance, not the hashtag kind. The kind that moves. But here's the thing. None of this is free. It isn't. Behind every video is time, labor, research, and some weird guy asking if we're going to pay the hosting bill. And yeah, some of that money goes to things we can't necessarily say out loud. If you know, you know. Let's just say our special ops aren't Call of Duty LARPers. They're people making real moves to protect, uplift, and organize. You're not just funding a channel. You're funding a resistance network in a world where capital still calls the shots. Unfortunately, in a system built on artificial scarcity, even mutual aid has a price tag. And if we want to grow, if we want to win, we need your help. We need your help. So if you've got even a few bucks to spare, toss it our way. It's not for ads. It's not for merch drops, but for people making moves in the shadows so others can do it in the light. It's just us and you. So fund the mission, fund the fight, fund the future, because nobody's coming to save us. We save each other. That's how this works. Follow us on all these things you see here, and our link tree is in the description. Maybe even get some merch.
That was the Political Drain podcast, which can be heard on www.groovechillradio.com/political-drain and can be viewed on the Political Drain YouTube channel anytime. Once again, thank you for listening to Groove Chill as we resist fascism in any form, pursue democracy, peace, and love.